In our last video, we explored free will in theme parks through the philosophy of David Hume. We argued that guests do possess free will because no one forces them to ride attractions, buy food, or even remain in the park. Under Hume's compatibilism, freedom doesn't require randomness or metaphysical independence. It simply requires that we be able to act according to our will without external coercion. And by that definition, theme park guests are free. They can walk away, they can say no, they can leave. But today I want to take the opposite position, because there's a deeper question we only touched on the last time, and that's not whether guests are forced, but whether their desires were ever truly their own. This argument isn't about obvious coercion. Theme parks don't threaten us, they don't lock exits, and they don't mandate purchases. Instead, the challenge is subtler. It's the idea that freedom might require more than the absence of force. It might require ownership of one's motivations. See, Hume assumed that desire simply arises within us, but modern environments don't merely respond to desire, they actively manufacture it. And that changes the philosophical landscape entirely. Theme parks are not neutral spaces. They are engineered behavioral environments. Every sightline is deliberate, every music cue is calculated, and every scent is strategically placed. This is the product of decades of research into psychology, environmental storytelling, and consumer behavior. You don't simply enter a park, you are neurologically prepared for it. Anticipation is staged, emotion is paced, nostalgia is activated. Your body enters before your mind even realizes it. And this isn't coercion, it's choreography. And choreography doesn't remove choice, it shapes movement. You still technically have options. You can skip rides, you can avoid shops, you can resist impulse purchases. But those choices exist inside what psychologists and economists call choice architecture, a term popularized by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein in their book Nudge. Their argument is simple but unsettling. Anytime you design an environment where people make choices, you are already influencing those choices. There is no neutral layout. Theme parks aren't just entertainment spaces. They are massive systems of intentional choice architecture. Guests retain formal freedom, but the probability of choosing certain behaviors is carefully engineered, and psychologists like Daniel Kahneman help explain why this works. Kahneman describes two systems of thinking. System 2 is slow and rational, but System 1 is fast, emotional, and automatic. Theme parks don't persuade your rational mind, they speak directly to System 1. They operate at the level of mood, atmosphere, anticipation, and embodied emotion, which raises a disturbing possibility. By the time you think you've made a choice, your environment may have already made it for you. Some philosophers of mind take this even further. Andy Clark and David Chalmers argue that cognition doesn't stop at the skull, but that our environments become part of our thinking systems. And if that's true, then theme parks don't just influence minds, they partially constitute them during the experience. And thus agency becomes distributed across brain, body, and space, and free will becomes relational and not just internal. In part 1, we used the example of a child crying for ice cream. We argued that the child still possesses free will. No one compelled them, they desired something and they acted on it. And this remains true. But now let's shift focus, because the more revealing subject isn't the child, it's the parent. The environment triggers the child's craving through placement, timing, and sensory overload. Now the parent faces emotional pressure, social visibility, and a distressed child. Theme parks understand this dynamic intimately. The child may be free, but the parent is now navigating a socially engineered situation. Freedom still exists, but it is increasingly constrained by design. Notice that this argument doesn't rely on biological reductionism. It doesn't say we're slaves to dopamine. Instead, it focuses on cultural conditioning. Guests don't naturally crave themed snacks or souvenirs. They're taught to. Through childhood nostalgia, through branding repetition, through ritualized experiences, through environmental storytelling. Even if agency exists at the personal level, the content of that agency is extremely authored. You're free, but only inside a script written before you even arrived. And here's the unsettling part. The most effective form of control doesn't even feel like control. It feels like enjoyment. Guests willingly participate in systems they cannot perceive. They don't feel manipulated, they feel enchanted. And enchantment is precisely the mechanism. This is the power that doesn't command, it invites. So where does this leave us? Part 1 argued that guests act without coercion and therefore freely. In this part, we're showing that desires are systematically shaped and agency is curated. These positions don't cancel each other out, but they kind of coexist in a weird way. Freedom hasn't vanished, but it has been redesigned. And that brings us to the real question. If freedom exists only inside environments designed to shape us, is that freedom real, or merely well-designed compliance? Maybe the deeper issue isn't whether theme parks remove free will, but whether modern life itself has quietly rewritten what freedom means. Fade out. Thank you for listening to this episode of Theme Park Philosophy, and if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure that you check out the first part because it is another juicy one. And let me know in the comments, do you think the free will is simply the absence of coercion, or do you think that our free will is constrained by design choices that we implement in the world, like choice architecture? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be sure to read it. Until the next episode, goodbye.